Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to share with you my paranormal story. I experienced a strange occurrence that involved the Hmong culture's belief in spirits and lost souls. Our Hmong culture holds a belief in spirits and lost souls that refuse to die. I have heard a lot of accounts of people going through strange experiences, but I haven't personally. It all began when I was a shaman at the time, and he was a Catholic. Considering that we each reside in a different town, we had a long-distance relationship. Even though he still visits me every weekend, it takes 3 hours to travel from his town to mine. He'd arrive on a Friday night and depart on a Sunday afternoon. He showed up around 7 o'clock. He planned to remain with me until after midnight. He wanted to return home and try to sleep for at least an hour before heading to work because he started work at 7 in the morning. We were both watching a movie on the floor that night, and as it got close to midnight, I made the decision to prepare something for him to eat before we parted ways because I didn't want him to stop anywhere to get food given how late it was. He was still on his back in the living room floor, which I could see from the kitchen. He had his eyes closed and was facing the ceilings. He would open his eyes, give me a quick glance, and then close them again. I approached him and sat down next to him. I stared at him, even though it appeared he was sleeping because it appeared he was looking at me. Later, I realized his eyes were not completely closed. I kept staring at him while I was sitting there. Then, despite the fact that his eyes were shifting, he appeared to be looking at me before he abruptly yelled, "Help me," with a weak, quiet voice that made it sound as though he was having trouble breathing. He jumped up as quickly as he could, started swearing, and raised his fist in the air when I became scared and smacked him in the face. He was struggling to breathe because he was breathing so forcefully. Finally, after he'd stopped freaking out, I asked him what the eye thing and the whole thing was about. He questions me as to why I didn't wake him up. He replied, "I was giving you signals with my eyes," to which I said, "How was I supposed to know you wanted me to wake you? I'm confused and don't understand anything you're saying." He claimed that he opened his eyes and saw me when I came over. I kept doing that, and eventually he realized it was me. However, when he opened his eyes the last time, expecting to see me, he saw me sitting next to him, staring at him. Even though he cannot see anything, he tried desperately to move but was unable to, so he tried to signal to me with his eyes. But I didn't catch it. He tried so hard and finally could say, "Help me." When he told me, I became extremely frightened. I had goosebumps all over my arms and neck at that very moment, and I felt strange. I had the impression that my soul had left my body. We made the decision to leave and head to my mother's house. It appeared that someone was still inside my apartment when I was standing outside and looking inside. The feeling I had about my home was new to me. I had a sudden, overwhelming sense of sadness, as if someone had come into my house and taken control. We told my mother what had happened when we got there, but like all Hmong parents, she dismissed it as nothing and advised us not to worry about it too much. It was way past midnight, so soon after that, he kisses me goodbye and left for home. I have feared returning home ever since that day. I spent almost a month living with my mother. I would go to my apartment during the day to get what I need, accompanied by my mother, and made the decision to return home one day because I was starting to feel homesick. I gathered my belongings and left for home. I stood by the door when I first entered my apartment and took a look around. The world seemed to be functioning normally. I didn't feel afraid, and I simply felt at home. I set up my belongings, turned on the TV, and sat down on my couch. I didn't experience any strangeness at all. Perhaps it's just that I miss my house too much. After that, everything resumed being fine. He always tells me that he feels like we are not the only ones in my apartment. At that point, I had stopped being afraid of it and had simply dismissed it as a bad dream. I don't feel anything, so I was starting to get upset when he said that. Since he kept feeling that way, we decided to go and stay at my mom's house whenever he came over. A few days later, I discussed it with some of my friends, and they suggested that perhaps it was because I am a shaman and he is a Catholic. And as shamans, we believe in ghosts and other strange things. The ghosts nearby may not like him because he was a Catholic and they were trying to frighten him, but not me because I'm a shaman. It's strange that occasionally it still happens to him now that we are married. Every time we go to bed, I have to make sure my feet are close to his feet in case it happens. When it happens, he isn't able to move his body, but is still able to move his feet. With his feet next to mine, I can feel when he moves. I'd be awakened by it, and he would be awakened by it, and he would be awakened by me. When it occurs, he always awakens to very labored breathing. It's also strange how everything is so contrary to what we believe and expect it to be. In my culture, we think that shamans are more likely to have such experiences than Catholics because they have been baptized, which prevents ghosts from approaching them. This story illustrates the cultural differences and beliefs that can sometimes cause friction between individuals, and how sometimes we need to learn to live with the unknown and the unexplainable. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing the story. Let me know in the comments if you have ever had any such experiences. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more such content.